Welcome to the University of Antwerp Faculty of Pharmaceutical, Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences podcast series. Whether you're a student, researcher, or simply curious about the latest news from our faculty, tune in and stay informed. So hello, can you share a little bit about yourself and also what sparked your interest in medicinal chemistry?
My name is Vanesa Nozal. I come from Spain. I'm a PhD in organic chemistry and here in Antwerp I'm working with the supervision of Professor Pieter van der Veken in the Laboratory of Medicinal Chemistry, and I'm a FWO fellow. Before choosing my bachelor, I was doubting between pharmacy or chemistry, but pharmacy was not available in my hometown in Valladolid, in Spain, so I chose chemistry. And years later, when I came to Ghent as an Erasmus, I found out this field, this medicinal chemistry field, which was unknown for me because it was not also available in Valladolid. And I found like the perfect combination between my passion for organic chemistry and also my interest to make any impact on society with the work I'm doing every day.
So you said that you're from Spain. So as an international researcher, what has been your experience living here in Antwerp? Can you share some highlights or even challenges that you faced here?
Well, frankly, it's been quite easy to start here as a foreigner because all the departments involved in the welcome of foreign researchers are quite involved, and they make my life easy in the beginning. Besides that, given that Antwerp is quite international, it's really easy to go out and meet new people only by speaking English because I'm not a Dutch speaker. Also, I think that I was quite lucky to get my fellowship rather at the beginning of my stay here, because that allowed me to focus only on my research and not be worried about what's going to be about me in the next future. So that was also quite nice.
So you mentioned that as a researcher and also as an international researcher, sometimes it can be tricky to gain funding to go and do a postdoctoral fellowship in a different country. So do you have any advice or tips on how best to go about looking for and getting funding for postdoctoral fellowships abroad?
Yeah, first of all, I would say that you need time, because you really need to dig on some websites and check especially what's the deadline of your fellowship you want to apply, and also what are the criteria you need to meet. So that is important maybe in the last year of your PhD. I know we are rather anxious about that, but sometimes you need to find the time. And I think I like to go through smaller funding agencies to bigger. So let's say, for example, here we can look at Flemish government. Then we would look as if there is some national funding agency. For example, in Spain we have the national agency, and then you can check on Europe. For example, you have many opportunities like EMBO, Marie Curie's. Often some particular companies offer some fundings. And on top of that, if you want to study a particular disease, let's say ALS or AML, there are some foundations that are focused on these diseases, and they sometimes found some postdoctorals on some stays. So my advice would be to dedicate it some time. I think in Antwerp it's really well organized, and we get a lot of newsletters with all the funding opportunities, and we can also ask for some advice to the special person dedicated to this. Let's say that I think also the supervisor is aware of this kind of fundings. So you can also do it the other way around. So you are interested in a group, in a supervisor, in a professor, and you can email them and say, look, this is my CV, I'm really looking to work with you, is there any opportunity? And they will also advise you to find some your own funding.
Okay, well, that's great to hear that there's a supportive environment for international researchers. So on to our next question. Why did you choose to work in Professor Pieter van der Veken's lab at University of Antwerp to do your postdoc?
Well, I met some people from this lab in one symposium in Nice in 2021, and I really saw how good they got along with each other and what the good atmosphere they had in the lab. So that was, let's say, one of my first goals or the first things I was looking for in a new lab. Then when I found out that they opened some positions here in the Professor Van der Veken lab, I found out that he's a real expert on medicinal chemistry, and I really like the job he has been doing in the protein I'm working on. Then when I moved here, I realized that it's very nice to work in collaboration with him because he gives you a lot of support, and it's very interesting to discuss all the problems or new ideas that I find in my daily life.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you work on acute myeloid leukemia, correct? So could you explain to us what exactly that is and what exactly you're researching?
Yes, acute myeloid leukemia is a type of cancer that it's quite deadly, and right now there is no therapies. We, in particularly me and another colleague in this lab, we are focused on one new methodology, a new kind of therapy called targeted protein degradation. So let me explain this carefully. Normal drugs are usually targeting a protein, which is rather a machine that makes some job inside our cells. These drugs that interact with the protein, they, for example, turn it off. They say, okay, this protein that is not functional all right in this disease will be turned off. This is okay, and it's been working for many drugs that we can find in the market. But in 2002, some scientists found out a new way to approach a disease. So, for example, the protein that is not working, you can tag and say to your own cell machinery to completely remove this protein. It will not be turned off, but it will be deleted from your cell. We want to understand with my research what's the consequences of completely removing this kind of proteins rather than only blocking them. And that's what targeted protein degradation means.
Right. And do you do this in patient material or in cells, or how do you go about studying this? Of course, drug discovery process is a lengthy process and involves many steps. In the beginning, you need a biologist to tell you which protein is involved and which protein is you can target. And then we in the lab, also with the help of computational chemists, we can design a new molecule. And then me, as an organic chemist, I can synthesize it in the lab. I mix some powders, some liquids, and then I obtain my molecule. Later on, we collaborate with some biologists, and they test these compounds in representative cellular models. And then, of course, if these compounds are good, they can be used in patients or also, first in animals. Right, that's very interesting. So collaboration is often very important in scientific research. Could you maybe tell us about some collaborations that you're currently involved in and how you find collaborations beneficial to your work?
Yes, as an organic chemistry and especially a medicinal chemist, it's very important to collaborate with biologists because, of course, I have the knowledge of synthesis, and but I don't have the knowledge in biochemical assays or cellular assays. So it's very important to collaborate with these kind of groups. And currently, for my project, we are collaborating with Professor Ingrid de Meester. They have all the cellular cultures that we can test our compounds in.
Okay, excellent. So what excites you most about your research now, and where do you hope to take it in the future?
Well, I really like the field of targeted protein degradation because, as I told you, it's a new methodology, and I want to see how better is it compared to the traditional drugs. My dream would be to combine this new methodology that I'm learning with my background in neurodegenerative diseases. That was the topic of my PhD. So right now, targeted protein degradation is basically focused on cancer, and it would be very nice to see if we can apply this to the brain disorders.
Okay, that's very interesting. So to finish off with one last question, what advice would you give to aspiring researchers that are interested in a career in medicinal chemistry?
Well, I think it's very important to find the proper supervisor. So, for example, a professor that is teaching you some lessons in the university and you find inspiring, you should have some chat with this person and see if you get along, right? Then, in my experience, by doing some short stays in their labs, doing some small research projects, that helped me a lot to really see how the environment is. And of course, looking for good funding, it's vital, right? But I think you need to go step by step, and eventually you will find something that belongs where you belong, and something that fits you.
Okay, that's some really great advice. Well, thank you so much. It's been fascinating to learn about your research, and we look forward to following the rest of your progress in your research. Thank you very much, Vanesa.
Thank you very much for having me.